Public meeting of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District to order. The records show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Welcome everyone to our first meeting of the 2022-2023 school year. We're going to jump right into reports. We didn't have any oral speakers signed up, correct? All right, then we're going to jump right into our reports, and we are going to skip ahead so that we can let one of our speakers get out of here. He's got another commitment. So we're going to jump ahead to our fine arts report. Mr. Bell?
Wait, what? This is a first, and maybe the last time, but thank you so much for accommodating. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Chadwell, it's my honor and privilege to be here to talk about our year in fine arts, the past year, 21-22. And I will pull up presentation here. All right. So first thing I want to point out and draw your attention to is this, this emblem in the top right corner. For the 9th year in a row, the National Association of Music Merchants, acronym NAM, throughout the country, has deemed that Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD is one of the best communities for music education in the country. And there, to give you an idea, there were only, I think, 746 districts nationwide that were honored as a best communities for music education. And I want to say thank you, and I want to say that this is a tremendous credit to you for your leadership, your support of our fine arts programs, as well as our directors, our parents, our students. So I think it's something that we can all celebrate in. As you see here, yeah, thank you. As you see here, we have a lot of not just UIL, TMEA, external driven contests, but and activities and events for our students to participate in. But we have a lot of internal events. And I want to point out number 9, most especially here, because as you know, it was a bit of a journey to feature our students in our Fine Arts Showcase last year. But thanks to University of Texas at Arlington and Texas Hall, we were able to make that happen. And I want you to know this is a historic day because the wonderful rain that we've experienced, it has not rained like that since May 24th when we had this Arlington and had to load and unload students and equipment and all that good stuff. But I thought that was very ironical that it hasn't rained like that since that day. Our fine arts academic performance targets, when I looked at this, because last year none of these applied, and going back to 1920, when it comes to UIL contests and competitions, when COVID hit in March of 2020, then our contests were shut down for the year. So I'm very proud. I think we lost a little ground here and there, but we gained some ground as well. And so I'm very proud of our data here as we move forward into this year. Some highlights, visual arts. You may remember we honored them, I think, at the May board meeting. We had 4 medalists and a Gold Seal Award winner from Saginaw High School at the state vase contest last year, which is tremendous. And we had an mega successful district art show. We had, we should have counted the number of folks, but we're having to move out of the Hollenstein Center because we've simply outgrown it. And just the ability to maneuver and hold our show there, I think we've outgrown that, which is a good problem to have. So we're looking for another venue this year when we feature our art students in visual art, works of art. In the band, world of band, if you look at that second bullet, all 10 of our middle school concert bands, varsity and non-varsity bands, earned sweepstakes at their concert and sight reading assessment, which is tremendous. And the Boswell Pioneer Drumline, as you probably know, because we honored them as well in May, they placed in the top 10 of their division. I believe it was the open division at the WGI World Championships in Dayton, Ohio, the best, the highest that they've ever achieved in Boswell history, and that's tremendous. And if you see this picture up here, we have a young man from Chisholm Trail High School, Jessen Leon, who is a tremendous percussionist at Chisholm Trail, and he actually participated as part of the semi-professional drum line affiliated with our district called VIP, Vigilante Indoor Percussion. So we're very proud of them and what they achieved. Our choirs had a full year, as did all of our performing arts performances, which was such a godsend after the pandemic and living through that. But they had a really successful year at UIL concert and sight reading contests, both our middle schools and high schools, and all Saginaw High School choirs that went to concert and sight reading contest earned not only sweepstakes, but straight ones. There wasn't a choir that received a second division, which is tremendous. Our dance teams continue to be successful in their performances throughout the fall and winter and at regional and state, as well as national competitions as well. And I should say our dance showcase. We had a great crowd and the students performed beautifully. Elementary fine arts was so great that they could perform for PTA meetings, their honor choirs on their campuses. We had all 17 honor choirs participate in our elementary choir festival in February at Saginaw High School. It was a tremendous event and had, I think, more parents and family and community support than we've ever had. In theater arts, our students performed beautifully. They were busy all year, and a very successful one-act play season at the high school level. And Chisholm Trail advanced all the way to the region contest at UT Arlington, which is one step away from going to state. So I had a disappointed daughter, but very proud of all of their performances. And so to wrap it up this year, I wanted to give you just some snapshots of our fine arts showcase on the last day that it rained, May 24th, before today. So there you are. You please feel free to take this and look at that. We're so proud and so privileged to get to showcase these students. So that's what I have tonight. Please, if there are any questions, I would entertain them now. Mr. Daughtry, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, just checking.
Appreciate you asking them.
No. All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for the update. It's always great to hear all the wonderful things our students are doing.
We
All right.
have some wonderfully talented students for sure.
Thank you. Okay, we will head back to our operations report and start with our quarterly demographic and housing analysis.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Superintendent Chadwell. It is my pleasure to be with you this afternoon. And you've heard me reference the Great Resignation, how it's impacted virtually every industry. Well, it impacted us. And so I've got some new team members, and I've got one joining me this afternoon. I'd like to introduce Hudson Huff. Hudson Huff is joining our team as a consultant. Hudson's got over 20 years of planning. He's been most recently working for the Keller School District as their director of construction facilities. And so I'm very thankful that he's going to be joining our team and we'll be assisting. So I'll still be the lead consultant, but Hudson is a resource that will be available to help us with consulting projects throughout the DFW Metroplex. Well, it has been an interesting summer. We've seen a lot of change. You know, the economy is showing us some signs of some change. The interest rates have gone up significantly. I'll touch on that in just a little bit. The unemployment rates are still relatively low. And these are unemployment rates for May. And when we look at the June numbers, the May, June numbers, a little bit of a movement up, but still, when you compare it to 2019, we're still pretty close to where it was prior to the pandemic. So the unemployment rates have gotten down in that very low range. I will say it's still a little bit of a challenge for industries with hiring employees. There's still a tremendous amount of turnover that's happening. There's a lot of industry that is struggling to fill positions. I still have one position open yet to fill, and we've hired 2 over the summer. That's never happened in my 20 years of doing consulting. Have I had 3 open positions over one summer? But we're about to get that corrected, and we're ready for this school year, but this is still challenging most industries. It's happening in education, and it's happening in just about every industry. And I want to touch on the housing statistics. This is a graph that shows the annualized start rates and closing rates for the DFW market. You can really see back in the first quarter of 2020. So the pandemic started March of 2020, which was right at the end of the first quarter, and that caused a real surge in new housing activity. Prior to the pandemic, we were doing about 30 to 34,000 new homes a year in the DFW market, and then it shot up to over 54,000. Now it has leveled off. You'll notice on this graph, the start activity is leveling off. Now, I suspect the start activity is going to drop. We are going to see a drop, but keep in mind, we really need to keep it in comparison to what was it like prior to the pandemic. So the news is going to make it sound like we're having this record-breaking drop in sales. But there again, even if we fall back to 35, 40,000, historically, that would have been a great number. And so when we talk about the Eagle Mountain Saginaw housing, and there is likely going to be a little bit of a slowdown, that's not going to be problematic. It's just going to mean it's going to get back to those levels that were likely in that 15 to 1900 per year. Still good growth, very consistent good growth. But the housing market is interest rate sensitive. So the interest rates have gone from 3% to 5%. And to give you a context of what that means, to go from 3% to 5%, that likely on average has caused the monthly payment to go up $529. So that's pretty significant. It's more significant for the first time younger buyers, and it's more significant for move-up buyers. Move-up buyers that are already in a home that have a low interest rate, they're going to rethink whether or not they want to buy that more expensive home or move, because they're already locked in at a low interest rate. It does not have as much of an impact on relocation buyers. Relocation buyers that are coming from outside the market, coming here because they've got a job change or moving here for that reason, they're likely going to continue to buy houses. DFW is still one of the strongest areas in the country for job growth. So the job growth numbers continue to be very, very strong. Now, when we look at the data by quarter, now the starts for the second quarter were very good. We had a very healthy number of starts in the second quarter, 420 starts. That's the highest number in about 1.5 to 2 years. So we had a lot supply issue. So our lot supply was low. The lot supply is being corrected. Now the starts are moving up. Now it's taking longer to finish homes. That's why there's a gap between starts and closings. It's the continued supply chain challenges. It's also shortages of labor that are continuing to impact that. But I do expect the closings are going to continue to catch up over time. Now, the interest rate hike and this change in the housing market, I do not expect it to have a significant impact on the projections for this fall, but it could cause us to soften the projections next year and the following year, depending upon how long those interest rates stay up, and they could go up again. So we may not have seen the end of the increase in the interest rates. Now, on the plus side, the interest rates are intended to help with inflation. So we could start to see a softening of some of those inflationary impacts on all areas of the economy. So that could be a side effect that could help. But to give you a comparison as to where we were a year ago, a year ago, we were at 1,700 annual starts. And this second quarter annual starts at 1,200. So that drop was primarily the lot supply challenges. But look at the quarter starts. They've actually gone up from a year ago. So we've seen an increase on the quarter starts. Right now, the Eagle Mountain Saginaw is ranked 14th in the DFW area based on annualized closings. I do think you're going to move back up that list a few spots as we get more of those homes that have been started closed. And you'll also notice now our lot supply, that vacant developed lot supply at 2,277. So it's now gotten back healthy. So we've gotten those lot numbers up. And you do have additional developments that are under construction. So there are new lots that are also on the way. Now you have 17,932 future lots that are in the pipeline to come your way. Now, this is sorting that housing data by your elementary attendance zones. The most active zone right now is the Eagle Mountain Elementary Zone with 319 annual starts. Second most active is Comanche Springs with 213. Copper Creek's in the third spot with 197. And then you've got Elkins at 172. So those top five are really the zones that are going to see the most significant growth over the next couple of years. Now, here's just the overview map. These are your current elementary attendance zones. Those green shaded areas are active, building single-family homes. We have 31 actively building subdivisions. We have 16 future subdivisions where you see a red outline. That's where development activity is taking place. So new lots are on the way, additional lots in those areas with the red outline. We have 2,307 lots that are in development. So the lot supply is still being fed, and we do expect to continue to see anywhere from 1,600 homes per year, even with the slowdown because of the interest rates. I don't think it's going to cause it to stop. It's just going to possibly slow it down.
Bob, we're not going to get the 1,600 this year though, right? I mean,
I think we could get to 1,600 starts, but then because it's taking so long to continue to finish homes, that it may get stretched out. Let me back up just to help a little bit with that. This slide might help. You can see the 420 starts that we had in the second quarter. They're likely not going to get all closed in the second quarter. Now, 3 years ago, if we saw that number of starts in a quarter, we could pretty much bank on it being closed the following 1 to 2 quarters, but it is being stretched. So it's likely going to be, let's say it could be 300 in the third quarter, which would put us at 700. We could see 400 or so in the fourth quarter. So realistically, we're probably looking at about 11 to 1,200 closings. My reference to starts, I think the start rate could, if we continue to see that 300 to 400 starts, then we might get back to that 1,400, 1,500, which is not far off of where it was in 2019. In 2019, it was 1,700. So I think what's happening is it's probably moving back to where it was prior to the pandemic.
some of those, I think you're going to get to some of them, but they seem to have got the groundwork done and then they just stopped.
Mhm.
They're not pouring the streets, or they've got them cut in dirt and some pad sites, but no streets, and the activity like on Bowes Road, both north and south of it, they've got them ready to go, but nothing's going on. They haven't been for a while.
Yeah, that is interesting. And so it could be just some timings in the market where they're trying to time out. In some sense, the next big push is going to happen in the spring again. So now it's a matter of, okay, does it do us any good to get the lots and spend the money now to get the lots all the way in versus, okay, we really need to get them ready for March of 23. Some of the highlights: Bailey Park, it's 465 total lots, 185 vacant developed lots. D.R. Horton's the builder there. That price point is 300 to 375. And then just south of that is the ranch at Duck Creek, which is 361 future lots. Groundwork is underway on all the lots. Ashton Woods is the builder, and this is in the Elkins zone.
So the one in the Bryson zone, you've got there, but you don't have any starts or anything on your district housing overview by elementary zone. So those are all over in the futures and vacant development lots.
Yes.
So that means they're not gonna start within a year? Is that?
No, it means that there could be some starts that could happen fairly soon.
So
So
it's shipped over to?
then they'll shift to the start
Okay.
column.
As soon as they can get the permits for those houses and those roads have been accepted by the city, they'll start.
Is that really what they're like? The main?
But like you mentioned earlier with the ducks at Ranch Creek, that one and the one south to it, like you said, it's just, they got excited about it, then it's on hold.
Yeah, they just stopped.
Mhm. Next is an infill development. It's Brookfield Ranch with 74 total lots, 74 vacant developed lots. All the lots were delivered in the second quarter, a little higher price point at $400,000 to $500,000. And this is in the Greenfield Elementary Zone. Like I said, I just touched on some of the highlights. We've got a full report on all of those activities for the subdivisions and the growth. But I wanted to give you a 1-year comparison. This is actually last year. How did we do? So how did we do last year? We forecasted about 10,038 elementary kids. That was the forecast for this time last year. The actual enrollment for the elementary campuses came in at 9,976. Overall, it was very good. We came in very close district-wide. The middle school numbers also came in. The middle school numbers actually came in a little above the forecast. The enrollment was almost 5,300, and we had forecasted about 5,215. The high schools, again, very close, a little bit above the forecast. Overall, we came in about, almost 50 kids within the forecast. Now, I did a quick look at where we are with this year. Now, keep in mind, this is so early in the school year. We typically grow 600 to 800 students by the time we get to the snapshot, the end of October. So I think that the projections are going to come. We forecasted about 1,200 students of growth. So we forecasted 23,547. I suspect when we get to the snapshot, we're probably going to be growth at around 900. So it's going to be in that 800 to 900 growth could be where we could end up this year.
Even though that's got 1216 on it. Right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what we forecasted last, when we forecasted, we thought you were going to grow 1,200. Now my gut is telling me when I look at the early numbers, it's probably going to be closer to 800. And there again, there's a variety of things at play that could be having this impact. The interest rate certainly could have had some of an impact. The pandemic, we're still wrestling with, what has not come back that should have come back. Now I'm saying that globally across the state of Texas, not specifically for Eagle Mountain Saginaw. But when I looked at your disenrollment report that I got today, 8 of the 12 elementary campuses were very close. 4 of the 6 middle school campuses, very close. And 2 of the 3 high schools, very close. So overall, even though we're still coming in a little under, the vast majority of the campuses are tracking very, very well. So this is last year's projections. Now we will update the new projections for this year. We need about a month. So it takes about a month into the school year for the enrollment to settle so that we understand how the school year has started. And then we'll build in the new projections and we'll have our projections ready to review middle to end of October. So we're still a little early, but I think overall that you're going to be at about 800 to 900 students of growth. And when I looked at the campus levels, very close. Now, you can see those high growth areas that have the high housing growth are where we're seeing some of the starting to approach capacities. So you can see at the elementary level, it's Elkins, High Country, Willow Creek, and possibly Comanche Springs. The other one we want to watch closely is Eagle Mountain Elementary because that's where a majority of the housing is now taking place. So that one could change a little bit based on how the enrollment settles and how we continue to watch the housing. At the secondary level.
Bob, if you hold a minute, if you
Sure.
go back to that one, you mentioned that in October, you're going to give us your numbers, but also we have to layer in the pre-K, the remaining half-day pre-K into those areas. So as Bob mentioned, some of those high growth areas, if they have pre-K, they'll start moving into those areas that don't have, that are closer to build out, such as you see Northbrook right there. So that's a place that's probably not going to grow many students, but it has classrooms and it has those areas of need for pre-K in there. So we would take advantage of that, making those moves. We'll be working with Linda on all that.
Very good. At the secondary level, it's Wayside Middle School that has the highest enrollment. And then, of course, your high schools those enrollment numbers are about to change as we get the high school plans in front of you. But overall, I feel like the enrollments are going to come in fairly well. And like I said, we could be a little under the 1,200, somewhere in that 800 to 900 range is where I expect the growth will end up. When we look at, we get an enrollment report pretty much every day for the first several weeks of school, and it compares it to the same day a year ago. And it's been tracking at about 1,000 students more than where it was a year ago. So tracking pretty well. Second quarter new home starts is the highest that we've seen since 2020. So we did see a pretty good bump in the second quarter of starts. We've got 32 actively building subdivisions, 16 future subdivisions. There's groundwork underway on 2,300 more lots that should be delivered within about 12 subdivisions. There's 1,030 multifamily units under construction. And we do expect the enrollment growth will likely end up at around 800 to 900 students of growth due to some softening in the housing market. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, you didn't mention the price point on those homes that were being built in the Elkins area. I'm trying to think. I had never heard of that builder. Do you have any idea of the price point on those homes? I'm trying to get back there.
I don't, so I'll need to look that up. I'm sure it's in our database.
Ashland Woods, they build a lot of homes around here.
They do build a lot of homes, so they're a production builder that we do see quite a bit around the DFW. I'd be happy to respond back with typically what their average price point is.
Thank you for that update.
You're very welcome.
Next, we will move on to construction update with Mr. Welch.
Tonight, we'll start out with the administration building and going over some of the outskirts of the building. The landscaping continues to progress. That's probably the best it's looked on that side. Of course, after the rain today, they're going to have to rebuild a few things, but they'll continue to work on that and make sure everything is right. This is on the backside of C, and so they're doing some final touches on some of the railings and some of the stair steps. In the main part of area B, they've started the furniture delivery and also putting it together. So they've been on that about 2 weeks. This is an example of the training rooms with the tables in them. That's on the upper level. And on the far right, that is a reception desk in the area C lobby by the bistro. So that there's 2 reception desks. That's one of them. I believe that's where Sheila would be located. In the boardroom in area C, they continue to work on the wood panels. They're staining them and putting them together, installing them. So it's a very large project in there, but they continue to progress on that one. We're still looking as far as a first board meeting around October. So we got to make sure we get our AV equipment and all that in there. That'll be the bigger challenge we face there. As I mentioned earlier, area B, so that's some of the cubicles, upstairs, downstairs. I'll just give you an idea of there's a lot of furniture in there that has to be put together. So I know Linda's group's getting excited about that. She's tried to move the date up on me a while ago. But there's a lot of punch items to do with that. You've got furniture, then you've got the building. So we'll make sure we get it right for them. And so this was we just went around to see in the finance area, operations, and in communications.
Sure, they're all thrilled with these pictures.
Well, Rob did not know. It was like, hey, so he had to turn around. So he was completely off guard. Whereas the one with Megan and them, that was kind of a staged area. So sorry, Rob. Most of the people that I got surprised they didn't like their picture. So we had to change some of those, but,
I took my picture out of the presentation.
yeah.
It looked like something from the sixties. It was really,
Oh, it
it
was-
came out really, really strange, but we'll send it to you for fun.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Well,
We'll send it to you.
Because we went, it was on the balcony, so we were outside, so we took it through the glare of the window, so it kind of had some special
Like I
effects
was on
on it.
another planet.
That's good, don't you think?
Yeah.
The shining.
Yeah, so of course, he called Dwayne like that, he did not expect that, nor did Hunter, so anyway, they,
You picked up the phone there? I just,
oh, that's Elisa, yeah, she was picked up the phone, she was staged a little bit there, thinking that's why. There was 2 pictures of her too, so. And then over in the business office, and we got another one of Rob, but they were working and some of these were staged a little bit, but some were not, so. Kind of more informal, and so this was a fun part of it. But you kind of see the different changes in the work environment we're experiencing, so we're growing into the place and making sure it works for everybody, so. I think that's the last one on the admin. I think we're still looking around October 1st for the remainder of Area B, so we'll still continue with that. Biggest issue, it won't be the furniture so much, it'll just be the punch items. So that's the largest group we have. So I would rather, our group, get all those punch items done as much as we can before we have to go intermingle. So, and I'm sure they'll appreciate in the end us getting out of their way. Eagle Mountain High School, we got some drone shots. So we're going to focus on the main part of the building, or it's not the academic wing. This is where you see the CMU block. That is the band hall area, band hall, choir, percussion. It has a little bit of food lab on that slab, but you don't see any of the CMU bricks up on that area. The area that is yellow, that is probably half of the fine arts. That's the entrance, the restrooms, and some of the seating. And so that slab was poured last week, so we beat the rain on that one. So they just continue to make the grade beams. They get the slab pours. Then they come in with the whatever walls need to go up into that area. On the far right, that is with the crane, that is the main academic area. So it's split level, so it's 2 levels plus a half. So they're working into that hill. And so there's going to be classrooms to the south, away from the road. And then it kind of slopes down similar to the admin structure. It's built into that hill. Okay, this is closest to us. This is the stadium, but that is the visitor bleachers where it looks like you see the 2 tractors there, the graders pushing. And I believe on the main pad that's over there where the dressing rooms are located, they've drilled all those piers. And they were going to start this week on the visitor side, putting those piers in, but it probably will be delayed a couple of days. But you can see where it's flat. That is where the main playing field is located. Then they'll move to the home side. If that work. Elementary 18 just did another drone shot because it's hard to get up close to what they're doing right at this time. So that is the area by the cafeteria, the kitchen, and a little bit of the gym, I believe. And so that was about a week and a half ago. Now they have the 2 academic areas would look just like that. And currently the area where you see that has the different colored soil, they have drilled all the piers and they've started grade beams on that. So they're moving right along on that project.
they're on time. Elementary 18 is,
Right now, it's really, the steel comes at a certain date. And as long as we stay ahead of that date, we'll be okay. But, you know, it's everything up north is about water. Getting the water, because you have to have it to compact the slab. You need it for the trades. And then we're working with the city of Saginaw. They've helped us because this is right on the border of Saginaw and Fort Worth. So the Fort Worth side, which is the side we're on, you can see where they're starting to build the road, but they have not been released. So we do not have a fire hydrant from the Fort Worth side, but Saginaw has assisted us in helping us get water for that project. So we appreciate what they've done for us. And water is an issue at the high school also. That's all I have for the construction update. Is there any other questions about that?
Do you fly the drone yourself or does somebody else do it?
I have, but not in this case. Somebody else is doing it.
You are drone savvy though? You can do it?
I know that I need to get far enough away like this and go straight up and take it at an angle and let it come straight back down. That's what I've learned. That's why I lost it the first time.
How far away is that?
Oh, I'll imagine it's about 300 yards and probably 125 feet up. Just guessing from my vast experience of using one. But when you start getting above certain, their programs, so you know, depending on if you're in the, by an airport, or you're by power lines, or when you're by that bridge going on the railroad, sometimes they won't allow you certain heights and restrictions. It's built into the programming. So.
Question? Okay, then you can move on to the attendance boundary update as well.
Okay. We've taken some input from our meetings and at the high schools that we had, also from the board meeting in July, and we took those suggestions and tried to make them work. And so we've come back with a new proposed attendance zone boundary plan for the 2024-25 school year. The things that I would bring out that are different than what we talked or what the map was before, we've moved the northern boundary instead of Bailey Boswell. We've moved it up to Park Drive as a part of that northern boundary. And then to accommodate that, we had to do some work on the Chisholm Trail boundary. So the north of Park Hill Lane and the Park West Edition, they're currently zoned for Chisholm Trail. We proposed them being in Boswell, but now we moved them back to their home campus to make those numbers balance. And that's kind of where we didn't touch anything on the eastern side of the district there. You know, it's just going to be a little bit tighter, but as you'll see when I show you the numbers, I can come back to this if you want to talk about it, but just kind of show the numbers. You can see after the initial opening that they do level out, and there's a slow growth until all these new homes start. I mean, they're going to have high school kids in those developments, but the ones that started in elementary, they have to work through the system. And that's when you'll see them after 10 years when they get into our grade levels. With this one, I would have, if you look at this one and it says Eagle Mountain High School and you look 21-22 and it has 659 kids and then 740 and then 842. All right, that's all our future kids. That is not, their program doesn't allow Bob's group to pull those out. So it does assign them to the location. So there just could be some confusion between this chart and the one you saw a while ago. So, but the other one was 3 grade levels. And so those will be accurate through 2022, 23, 23, 24. Then they'll change. Look at this one.
So is we're hoping or we're planning that Eagle Mountain area is going to grow more. That for 8 years after the high school opened, when we built it for 2,500, it's got 1,500, 1,600 kids in it. That's just as we sit right now though, right? It doesn't, well, it's got the growth in it.
It's got the growth. It's got
about where you had the growth.
It's got about 100 kids in it.
Time back to
A year, about
Yeah.
100 kids a year
Mhm.
or so. What we're seeing on WJ Bowes, I have not seen that up north. I've seen really aggressive building and just a different model and a different builder. But that could happen to us.
bigger lots, I guess.
Oh, they're small lots and they're putting,
Yeah, but here. The ones they're building now,
I think they're both about 50-foot lots,
50.
you know, different size homes. And then we're working with another developer that's right next to our high school site. They'll develop the rest of the Chapel Hill. And so all that'll be, it's all moving forward up to this point. Obviously, it can stop at any time until really they start pulling electrical wires. But we'll have to watch it. I mean, if somewhere that does stop, you know, then we may have to revisit at some later date.
The way it's set up now, Boswell, and I just use UIL classifications, would always be 6A. Chisholm Trail's right between 5A and 6A for the next few times. And then Eagle Mountain High School would start out 4A, and it would take them at least 2 realignments, 4 years to get to 5A Division II. And I don't think they ever get out of that size. And then Saginaw would always stay 5A. They would never get to 6A. Well, they would in 2030. So I relate that to size, I guess, because I understand the UIL size schools 4A, 5A, 6A. So you go back to your projected, back to that slide before and those future facilities, is that have two middle school sites for Eagle Mountain High School?
It has the
So-
one that's right below Eagle Mountain High School, and it has Prairie Vista. So that'll be its two dedicated middle schools.
And it looks like there's 8 or 9 future sites. The purple, I had a little trouble distinguishing the purple stars.
The three that you see there, one's a middle school site, and there's 2 elementary teacher sites there.
Okay. And there's 2 over there by Saginaw High School.
Well, they look purple, and they look purple, but they want them, you've got the elementary and you have a middle school site right there together. So that middle school site, that's going to be probably, I mean, if we had to make a decision today, that's like middle school 7. But that probably would not be elementary 18
Gotcha.
or 19, whatever. We've already got 18 going.
But the future sites do align with the 2 middle schools per high school.
Yes, on the
Right.
second, yes, on the secondary, we have
We are.
put pure feeder patterns in play.
And that we own right now.
And we own them.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Elementary, we have the option to move that around along those lines to help maximize our capacity on those schools.
Seems like we're opening it and it'll stay small for about 8 years. That's more y'all than that.
Yeah, but,
Then it would have been bigger. if we would have-
but, yeah, correct me if that was why you had the attendance zones the way you had them, to try to level out the numbers. Is that not what I understood?
Yes, we had.
And then we got the feedback from the public through Let's Talk and the forums, and we
Yeah.
made changes, wanted to look at those changes to see how that would impact.
So there's probably like 3 different little areas you could look at. The one that we started with, which is kind of a blend in the middle, you still might have not have been permanent in some of those areas. They might have had to relook at them 12 to 15 years. But to completely balance them, you know, that area that is on the north side of that blue Boswell would have to go north.
Right.
So that would be more dramatic. And then again, I think you'd still be looking at a future.
But you might have to move it back at some point
Yes.
too, right?
Right.
So we
Yes.
did talk
So we
about
did, right.
preserving, that's been a strategy of ours, preserving
Right.
that feeder pattern. So,
Right.
you know, I mean, that would be a philosophical discussion if we wanted to keep the schools closer to the same size, but move kids more frequently.
I'm not necessarily worried about being the same size. I'm just wondering if our projections are going to fill Eagle Mountain High School at some point. We're building it for 2,500 kids, so.
I don't think we'll have a problem filling 2,500 kids up there.
I think it's just because that's where
Right.
so much of the future.
Right.
And that's something we should,
Right.
But one of the things, Mr. Nuke, we've looked at, also looked at the 10-year elementary projections. And Boswell and this area up north are going to be much larger than the Chisholm and Saginaw. There's got a 10-year projection. And
In 10 years, they're going to be bigger than the north. the
well,
gray
not in
area.
10, but you look at that 15 to 20 year, because if you look at the 10-year elementary plan, then you've got the high school plan, but those high school kids are gone, but those elementary kids,
Yeah.
Moving up.
then it'll progress up, then you have more of them come. You get again, it's a crystal ball, but that was the biggest thing I was worried about is the top getting too large.
the density in that area has been pretty heavy. And that's one of the things that we looked at is and we'll just take the developments off of Bonds Ranch. What was initially asked for by the developers ended up being modified. So less houses, larger lots, probably less density. But those decisions aren't finalized. And there's a whole series of those like that. There's just a lot of question marks up there. When I look at the gray area, I just say a big question mark because a lot of land is locked up but then there's lands that also is being released by people who have owned it for long periods of time. And so what this does is it does create this delay in terms of building out Eagle Mountain High School, but also knowing, and we've been trying to be public about this, just so people are clear, that if we look 5-6 years out and we see it not growing like we think it probably end up will, we may have to go back and change an attendance boundary at that time. But if we do it now, we may have to do it again down the road, and that's really the concern. I don't like opening a school that's designed for over 2,000 kids and opening it up with about 1,000. But moving people back and forth was going to be the alternative.
That's not fair.
And if we hadn't have opened Eagle Mountain High School, you got to look at how many we'd had to do some major renovation additions to all 3 of our high schools. I mean, that would have been a major deal to accommodate even the 1,700 that are going to be there in 3031. That would have been nearly 600 extra kids at each high school. And that would have been, I mean, I don't know how much that would cost, but that would be quite a feat to do that at all 3 schools. That'd be some big additions.
That ultimately you might not need in the end, because the capacity will be right when we get there. Other comments or questions?
So I just would say this, when you look at this 3031 and you start to see the yellow, and you got Boswell will be there too. So at some point, when you're 4 years out, it'll tell a different story. It'll be more details, but at that time, if those renovations where we need to tweak something, or Saginaw's cafeteria needs to be larger, we'd have time to, program that into it. Because it'll start telling a tale.
Yeah, I think
It makes sense.
so.
No, go ahead.
I did want to thank Mr. Welch and Ms. Silverman and everybody involved with this process. It is a process. And it's a very emotional process because you build a home thinking where your children are going to go to school. And we know we received a lot of very valuable input to the process and a lot of discussions. And we feel like we came back with something that is going to, again, address those concerns that came up, which were very understandable, but also be able to address our future growth needs. But understanding this, what we've told everybody, in the future, we may have to make an adjustment, but we would wait until that time to be able to make it. But I thought the process really worked well, but it's not without angst for people that think, this is not a decision that's good for them. I think probably as this gets clear, as we get closer, the shifts between Chisholm Trail, Saginaw, and Boswell will become more clear. That information's been put out there. And so that's something that we may hear about. And that's understandable as we get closer to 2024.
And I'm proud of us for listening. I mean, that's what we told the
Right.
committee we were going to do, and that is what we did. So kudos on that.
That'll come back next month as an action item.
Yes,
We're gonna go ahead and get it. That's-
Yes, sir. And unless the board opposes, I would put that in consent unless there's a desire to put that in action. But okay. And if there's a desire later from any board member that they would like to discuss, just let us know and we'll put it back into action.
Bob, thank you for your group helping with this. Dwayne, he helped tremendously on this. So it's a lot of people that put their time in to pull this off. So appreciate their help.
Moving on, summer maintenance update, Mr. McWhorter.
Good evening, President Raines, Dr. Chadwell, distinguished board members. I'd like to start off real quick to introduce some of the new leadership team in the maintenance department. Starting out with our 3 operations supervisors. First is Aaron Hardesty. Aaron was born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, and attended all 12 years of school at Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD. He began his career in the maintenance department at EMS ISD in 2020. He's worked in general maintenance, plumbing, served as an interim maintenance supervisor, interim custodial supervisor, and has now been promoted to operations supervisor. Aaron and his wife Jill have two sons, Logan and Sawyer. He enjoys DIY projects, working in the yard and traveling. And prior to working for the school district, Aaron was an architect for 16 years. And Aaron's excited for this new opportunity as operations supervisor for EMS ISD. Next is Jared Bryant. Jared's been promoted to operations supervisor as well. Prior to this new position, he served as a plumbing supervisor for EMS ISD for 2 years. Jared is a master plumber, has 18 years of plumbing construction experience, and spent 2 years in Fort Collins, Colorado as superintendent for a plumbing company. Jared was born and raised in Texas, married to Lisa Bryant, also a district employee. They share 4 children, Allison, Logan, Maddox, and Kinley, and 1 grandchild, Aurelia. In their free time, they enjoy spending time together as a family, game nights, movies, family meals, and relaxing at the pool during the summer. Next, we have Jim Howard. Jim's been working for the district as general maintenance technician since 2015, before becoming the general maintenance supervisor in 2020. Jim's been married to his wife, Sandy, who's also here, since 1987, and they have 2 children who graduated from Boswell High School, TK and Chris. During his free time, Jim serves as the district as a sports broadcaster and announcer since 2006. And lastly, Michael Dean. Michael's new to EMS ISD. He's our new custodial supervisor. He was born in Louisiana and moved to Texas in 1999. He's been in the custodial industry since 2004, most recently at Dallas ISD as a custodial supervisor for the last 6 years. Michael and his wife have been married for almost 11 years and have 4 daughters and 1 son. In his spare time, he enjoys coaching his daughter's 14U softball team. He loves sports in general and says the Dallas Cowboys and LSU Tigers are his favorite teams. We're working on getting him to be a University of Texas fan. So I'm proud of all these guys. I'm proud to be part of the team. So with that said, we'll move on to the summer maintenance update. Starting with Boswell High School, this is the before and after of the updated Marty Medellin Memorial. You see the top there, the before and the after. Halfley Development Center, we repaired the broken concrete in the main parking lot.
Just for a second, go
Yes.
back to the Medellin Memorial. It's kind of hard to tell from the picture, but those are metal panels that have a matted finish. And what we ran into as a problem there is every time we would do a new name, it could crumble. It was very hard. You can see some of the discoloration because trying to recolor the inside of letters was really difficult. So we went with this other option. This other option will also allow us to put names on much more quickly. Versus it was a 6 to 9 month lead time, and now this will be weeks. And so I think several of you were involved with this process. It was like a art project, and y'all did a great job putting it together. I think we'll be very proud of that. And we will have the memorial program in November again this year. Thank you.
Saginaw High School, this is on the west side of the campus, kind of facing the stadium. We installed the sidewalk there because there was a lot of foot traffic there and it was muddy and causing problems. So we installed the sidewalk there. This is repaired flat work by the turf building. Again, a before and after. Here at Chisholm Trail, we replaced some damaged fencing around the batting cages. The fabric was damaged, so we redid that. Also painted the marquee in front of the school, the before and after there. And also not listed, or I don't have a picture, replaced 100 feet of damaged fencing also at the baseball complex. Remington Point, removed a brick column and replaced it with the handrail. It was problematic. Deliveries were delivering there and they hit that brick column numerous times. So we replaced that with a handrail. Eagle Mountain Elementary School, the before and after. So it's kind of hard to see. That's actually two separate pictures on the top and two on the bottom. The before on the top left is in a classroom. And it was neat to see them inject that slab and raise it up. Actually, Aaron did a time lapse and you could just see it closing as they injected it. So, and then there in the hallway on the bottom left and right, it was very interesting to see them be able to raise the entire school. Here at the HCTC, it's kind of hard to see. Upgraded the landscape beds there in front of the building, the before on the left and the after. It's kind of off in the distance closer towards the building. And this is just several, I took pictures of several campuses that we painted exterior doors and handrails. This is High Country Elementary School before and after. And then Highland Middle School, some exterior doors before and after as well. Chisholm Ridge Elementary School, we restriped the parking lots to include spaces, crosswalks, and fire lanes. And this was at numerous campuses. This was just an example of one. And then at the high schools, installed complex, at the athletic complexes, installed heaters and mini splits. Hopefully this will help if we have another freeze with the heaters.
May comment on this one, as we know, we've had an issue with having to turn the water off proactively during freezes, but we're still having ball games, and which presents a challenge. This should address that, along with any of you have worked concession stands. I know Ms. Reams worked concession stands just a few times, and so hopefully that will address that in that area. And this was a project that we did through the priority fund that we include as part of our budget every year. And so we identified that project working with the athletic department. So thank y'all for doing this. It's kind of been long in coming, so appreciate it.
And then at numerous campuses, inspected the playgrounds and replaced the fall material. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but the after, that's the new fall material, and kind of cleaned up a little bit. And it looked really good when we got done. And I didn't have slides or pictures of these things, but other projects that we completed at various campuses were inspected elevators, fire extinguishers inspected and serviced, kitchen hoods inspected, grease traps pumped, natural gas tested, backflows tested, and then also tested the fire alarms. And then the 2021 winter storm repairs on multiple campuses, I showed it at 95%. Actually, that'll be 100% as of hopefully next Monday. All we had left was the HCTC, the cosmetology area. We were waiting on flooring, and we got that flooring in. It's getting acclimatized right now, and they'll do that, finish that up on Sunday. And then remediation of unsatisfactory work performed by contractors for the 2021 freeze. We completed interior plumbing insulation that wasn't initially done when they repaired the piping, went back in, insulated those pipes, and got all the work done. So any questions?
Thank you.
No, thank you.
All right, Mr. Kidd, we're going to try to sneak you in quick. Do you have a short one for us? Bond project update? Well, you want me to wait and have you come back at 7?
I'm here all night. It's not mine. Good evening, Dr.
Chadwell, President Ring, members of the board. So quickly, before we get on to this exciting piece, just to update a little bit on our piggyback on Cleat and Eagle Mountain High School, just some fun construction facts. There is 2,000 tons of steel planned for that project. 433 tons will start coming September 1st to be installed in the curriculum wing. There are over 1,800 piers and 2,155 have been completed. As Cleet mentioned, all of the academic and athletics and field house wing. This week, Wednesday, there will be 80 truckloads of CMU block being delivered, which is 60,000 blocks that will be going into the field house to be installed on the field house. So there's a lot of great things happening there, and it's happening fast. So the 2017 bond projects update. This will be touching on phase 2 and phase 3 items. Part of phase 2 is completion of some fencing that's going to take place at Willow Creek Elementary and at Lake Point Elementary. As you can see, the construction is taking place at Willow Creek. This project at Willow Creek should be complete by September 1st. Lake Point will probably extend about a week behind that due to the weather today. This is also part of the phase 2 work, and this is the sidewalk on Bowman Roberts Road that supports Boswell High School on the west side of the campus coming from the south, and those additions at Boswell Ranch Estates and at Lake Vista subdivision.
That goes to the end of our property.
It does go to the end of our property. We also, in the phase 3 part, we had some floor replacement work, and that floor replacement work was carpet at Hafley Development Center, which is with the new district standard for carpet. And we also had Bryson Elementary School. This was not part of the bond work. It's something that we managed, and this was the replacement of the gym floor due to some unforeseen conditions with a lot of moisture leaking up through that slab was creating some issues with the floor and it bubbling. So only thing that we could do to mitigate it was to replace it with a better product. And we were able to sneak that in right before the kids, actually right before their meet the teacher night. Thank you also to Mr. Daltrey and Mrs. Daltrey. They did some dusting as this was finished to get this project completed and presentable. This is Watson High School, who also had all of their carpet replaced. And those are the slides that I have for you to expand on the rest of the phase 3 projects, or excuse me, the phase 2 projects. Wrestling mats at Saginaw High School. I've been reporting on this since April of 21. We still don't have them. So we finally switched vendors to a vendor that said that they could get them. They are in the process now of finalizing some artwork with the campus, and we expect those to be in place by December of this year. Phase 3 work, mechanical equipment. You approved a contract with Dallas Mechanical Group in May for the replacement of rooftop units at Chisholm Ridge, at Greenfield, at High Country, at Remington Point. These units serve the administration offices and the kitchen. The equipment is tracking to arrive in early November and is scheduled for installation over the Thanksgiving break. Watson High School has multiple mini split systems or split systems that are at that campus. We're in the process of getting quotes and lead times for this equipment, and the installation will be completed by our HVAC technicians. Once the units are received, we establish a scheduled date for replacement. Rooftop unit and roof replacement project. The board approved the method of procurement for this project as construction manager at risk due to the coordination of roofing and mechanical groups. This construction manager at risk will be brought to you as an action item tonight as far as the contractor. The campuses included in this scope are Eagle Mountain Elementary, Highland Middle School, Boswell High School, Saginaw Elementary, and Saginaw High School. Then we have rooftop replacements. Reed Wells and Bitson, which is RWB's professional engineer that is evaluating these projects and will develop specification for scope of work and create an RFP to advertise. We are coordinating with purchasing for the schedule to receive proposals and award a contract. The campuses covered in this project will be Saginaw High School, Creekview Middle School, and Halfley Development Center. Additional floor projects that we had this summer was the replacement of all the VCT at Lake Country Elementary School. It's a new elementary school. We know there was a manufacturer defect, so we decided to this summer to replace it all. And so it was all completed and replaced. It's the same tiles, it's the same colors, and it's the same design. Sound systems. Remington Point Elementary is their sound system in their cafeteria. Boswell High School sound system in their gym. Saginaw High School sound system in the gym and the auditorium. All systems at these campuses are currently working and provide the necessary function to support all the activities. We were able to receive and install a new mixer board to control the auditorium system at Saginaw High School. This will be an upgrade and enhance their capabilities. Due to escalation of cost and lack of availability of AV and sound equipment, we do not have a recommendation for replacement of existing systems at this time at those other campuses. Renovation work. The District Agricultural Science Facility, RWB, is evaluating this facility as well for improvements for the lighting and venting. We expect they will complete evaluation by the end of September. At that time, they will provide direction for electrical upgrades and equipment and fixtures to improve the facility. The district will purchase needed equipment of the fixtures and equipment, and district maintenance technicians will install all items. We plan to schedule installation in late fall. Turf replacement. We completed 2 projects this summer, Chisholm Trail High School and Saginaw High School, their competition football fields, including new goalposts at each stadium and new sideline benches for Saginaw High School. Marquee replacement. Saginaw High School is due for a marquee replacement in the 2017 bond. We have received quotes for that. We have submitted a PO. We're finalizing artwork on that one. We expect that that could be installed as early as January of 23. And the last item I have is construction. I am happy to announce that Boswell High School, we are through with construction. We are finally finishing up a few punch list items and a few warranty items. And then Chisholm Trail High School, the retaining wall that was at the back of their baseball practice field. All that work was completed with irrigation and a new structurally sound wall. And that completes my update. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Well, as always, you know, Billy, Tom, Dwayne, and all your guys that and gals that help you do all this stuff. This is what makes our school district set apart from everybody else's, is the updates and the things that y'all do on a regular basis. And we appreciate it up here, and just keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, obviously, my right-hand man, Hunter Lee, our construction manager, and his knowledge and his determination also to help execute all these things. Thank you very much.
Okay, it is currently 6:08 p.m. on August 22nd, 2022. The board will now recess for dinner and reconvene in a closed meeting pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meeting Act. Section 551.071 for the purpose of private consultation with the board's attorney and all subjects and matters authorized by law. Section 551.072 for the purpose of deliberating the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Section 551.074 for the purpose of deliberating the appointment, employment, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. And that also will include a discussion of superintendent goals this evening. Section 551.075 for the purpose of deliberations regarding deployment or specific occasions for implementation of security personnel or devices or security offices, and that does include a safety and security update this evening. Section 551.082, considering the discipline of a public school child or complaint or charge against personnel, and section 551.0821, discussion to discuss specifically personal identifying information about a student.
2 guinea pigs, and 2 dogs. She likes playing with her dolls and enjoys being at Elkins this year. And then we have Ryan Olson. Ryan is here with Mom Shannon and Mr. Michael Olson. Ryan is a kindergartner. She loves to play with Legos and enjoys painting and drawing. Her favorite color is blue. She plays softball and her favorite position is third base. So if you can please now go.
The United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the census life, with allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
You, Elkins. Next up, I believe we have some special introductions. First, Dr. Gamel from Human Resources.
Good evening, Dr. Chadwell, President Ring, and Board of Trustees. It is my honor tonight to introduce to you 2 new members to the Human Resources Department. I am humbled to be allowed to work with these extraordinary leaders. So I'm going to start with our new Director of Human Resources, Mr. Chris Mogan. Mr. Chris Mogan joined the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD Human Resources Department during the 2021-2022 school year as the Assistant Director for Human Resources. Mr. Mogan is entering his 24th year in public education. Prior to joining EMS ISD, he previously served in Decatur ISD as the Director of Academic Learning and Student Services. Mr. Mogan has also served as a high school principal in Decatur ISD, Sherman ISD, and Frisco ISD. He has 16 years of combined campus and district administrative experience and 7 years as a secondary teacher and coach. He grew up in Plano, graduated from Plano Senior High School, and attended college at Oklahoma Baptist University for his undergrad and the University of North Texas, earning his master's degree in education administration. Mr. Mogan is married to his wife, Christine, who is also a high school counselor. Their daughter Bailey is currently in high school and their son Hunter is in middle school. In his spare time, Chris enjoys spending time with his family on the lake, camping, hunting, fishing, and golfing. Chris is humbled and honored to continue to serve the district in his new role. So welcome. We have another new member to our department, another familiar face to EMS ISD. Dr. Cheney Curran is joining us as our Assistant Director for Human Resources. Dr. Cheney Curran grew up in Denison and graduated from Austin College in Sherman. She began her teaching career in Sherman ISD in 2004, while completing her graduate degree from Southeastern Oklahoma State University in 2006. Dr. Curran arrived in EMS ISD in 2009 to serve as a district-wide K-12 administrative intern. In 2010, Dr. Curran was selected to open Willow Creek Elementary as an assistant principal. Shortly thereafter, in 2013, she accepted the role as the assistant principal at Remington Point. And in 2014, Dr. Curran was named the campus principal. During her time at Remington Point, She led the campus to be recognized by the International Center for Leadership in Education as a model school. Dr. Curran completed her doctoral degree from the University of North Texas in 2014. Dr. Curran is proud to continue to carry the torch for the district in her new role. She has been married to her husband, Scott, for 14 years, and they have a baby in the family by the name of Duchess. This is her horse with a larger-than-life personality, and in her free time, Dr. Curran can be found at the barn with Duchess, jumping around in the arena. And we are honored to have her serve alongside us in our Human Resources Department.
Mr. Welch in Finance Department, please.
Well, following Dr. Gamel, I too can say that we are very excited to have the most recent addition to the Finance Department here tonight to introduce, and that is Ms. Michelle Davis will come join us as our Assistant Director of Payroll. Mrs. Michelle Davis comes to EMS ISD from Aledo ISD, where she served as the Payroll and Benefits Coordinator for the last 12 years. She brings 27 years of overall school payroll experience. Ms. Davis earned her bachelor's degree from Texas Tech University prior to beginning her career. And when not at work, she enjoys time with her husband, Dennis, and traveling to visit her adult son, Ty, and daughter, Erin. Ms. Davis joined our payroll team at the beginning of July, and again, we are very excited to have her part of the EMS ISD family.
Chief Ramirez, see some introductions first as well.
Okay, great. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Chadwell, it's my pleasure to introduce three, but only two were able to attend today, new additions to our police department. I'd like to bring up Lieutenant or Sergeant John Grady and Sergeant Gary Reynolds. So the person that couldn't be here because of family issues is going to be Ronnie Potts. He's a captain. He has over 35 years of experience, including after 9/11, he decided that it was his duty to become an air marshal. And he did that for several years, 7 years. His background includes SWAT operations, Homeland Security. He also served as a high school teacher in Irving ISD. And bring Captain Potts on board with his experience was an easy selection for us. Now, these two gentlemen just standing next to me, I consider them mentors, actually, and friends. Sergeant John Grady, he was actually a lieutenant with the Fort Worth Police Department, retired after 30 years. He supervised mounted patrol, he commanded internal affairs, criminal investigation, and he was actually over the SROs for a long period of time. Luckily, I've known John for a long time. Matter of fact, the first time I met him, when I was a rookie police officer, he was a sergeant over the shift, and I got into a pursuit that he didn't think I should have got into, and he let me know about it. And so that's how and so ever since then, we've been really good friends. And towards my end of my career as a deputy chief with the police department, John was kind enough to work with me as my admin lieutenant in that office before he retired. Again, he spent the last 7 years at Mineral Wells PD, where he did the SRO roles in the schools. I'm really excited about John because he brings a lot of passion to what he does. And talking to John, he explains to me where he worked at elementary school. He has 500 grandchildren of his own. John is actually married to a retired Fort Worth police officer. His son is a police officer currently, Harley Grady. John loves horses. He loves hunting. He loves everything outdoors. And like I said, he's just an excellent addition and a great man that we're going to have. Thank you, John. Gary Reynolds is, again, probably one of the most intelligent men I've met in a long time. He was actually, his last stint was a lieutenant over the CID section in West Division, which is our criminal investigation division. So he brings a lot of experience when it comes to investigating crimes. We actually had the opportunity as rookies coming out working midnight shift on the north side So we answered a lot of calls together and had a lot of fights in the stockyards together. So that's where we met him. So when I saw him at a football game, because his daughter actually graduated from one of our schools, Chisholm, he had told me he was getting ready to retire, and I knew he would be perfect for one of our sergeant position. He's lived in the district for 17 years, and I know he's excited to be here as one of our sergeants. So again, I want to welcome Gary Reynolds aboard.
President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, and Board of Trustees. First of all, I would just like to say that it is a true blessing to lead the elementary team. They lead every day with love. And so I'm very happy to introduce to you our next leader for this team, the new principal of Remington Point Elementary School, Ms. Claire Compton. We're so excited to have Claire in this new role. She has served as the assistant principal at both Copper Creek and Northbrook. She has 12 years in education, 8 years as an assistant principal. She has 2 degrees, one from A&M. Have to give you the points, right? You gotta do that. And also her master's from the University of Texas. She is married. And she has a lovely daughter who is 4 years old, and I believe you have a puppy, right?
Yes.
Yes, puppy, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
We're very happy to have her. Thank you.
That concludes our introductions. You are welcome to stay, but if you were just here for the fun stuff, now is a good time to sneak out because we're going to go back and do several reports that we didn't get to in the 5 o'clock session. Mr. Welch, if you want to make your way back to the podium, starting with the budget update.
Good evening, trustees, President Page, Dr. Chadwell. We bring to you tonight a brief update in regards to our, on the finance side of the world. We'll talk real briefly our budget timeline as we have come to a long process that has brought us to tonight with the presentation of our proposed budget and for adoption as well as our tax rate. And we will briefly look at the proposed budget and also look at the update on our issuance of our 2022 school building bonds that we just recently completed. Going back to the same thing we looked at in July, revenue assumptions as well as key expenditure assumptions. But I will touch base. We'll have a little more information on the insurance item. I did show that we saw a property insurance increase of 1.4 million from last year to this year. We had money in the budget. Looks like we're going to have a net adjustment of about $1 million to our proposed budget because of the significant change in property and casualty insurance. Again, going back to property values and tax rate from our previous discussions, we do have our maintenance and operations tax rate is expected to decrease by 2.29 cents, and our interest and sinking tax rate will remain level at 50 cents. So an overall decrease to the tax rate of 2.29 cents going into next year. And just to clarify, we do have an adjustment from compressed tax rates with the state formula. And so when the state is, that compressed formula brings us down 2.29 cents, but the state funding formula makes up that difference in that decrease in property tax collections. Again, looking at the proposed budget on the expenditure side, it does include the compensation plan with 3% raise for all employees. as well as all our staffing plans that were approved in the spring. And again, we've made the adjustment for the property and casualty insurance. And so if I bring us over to our proposed budget model here, we have our general fund with, again, similar to what we looked at before, revenues total 225 million plus then our on the general fund side, and then expenditures at 232 million. You see the $6.7 million difference there. As we discussed before, in the current year, we're going to be utilizing some ESSER funds for some pre-award costs that will go into the current 21-22 budget and will be realized in this year. We'll go into fund balance, and then we'll have to pull those funds back out to bridge some of this gap here in the 6.7 million. The tune of $5.8 million is what those pre-award costs will account for out of the ESSER funds. And so then the difference there, as we just alluded to, that $1 million difference in the property and casualty insurance. Going back over to Child Nutrition Fund, our proposed revenues are just under 12 million, with total expenditures at $12,289,218 for a net expenditure of $319,628. We'll discuss in the budget amendment for the current year. We've had a surplus based on all the additional federal revenue that came in during the last year, and combine that with going into next year, we're holding prices the same. And so we will see now, we'll utilize a little bit of that savings that we had in the prior year as we go into next year. Then go back to the debt service fund. This is, again, revenues, 71.5 million, along with expenditures, 71.5 million for a net of 0. So if we look at a comparison from prior year to current year, I just want to touch on a little difference that we saw in the instruction. And when it comes to instruction, one of the things that we're having to adjust for is GASB 87, which is a new accounting standard that we're having to implement. And one of the impacts of that is it's moving money that we've spent on things operationally for instruction in regards to leases for computers, copier equipment, and things, items that typically we would charge into Function 11. Those dollars are getting now moved into debt service in Function 71. And so we're showing that as an implementation in the 21-22 school year, which is not reflected in this number that you see in front of you in 21-22, because that's on tonight's budget amendment. And for the notice purposes, we use the current revised budget. So when we look here, it looks like our expenditures per pupil in instruction are decreasing, but the reality is that's all from moving those leases to Function 71, which is debt service, which does not tie to instruction whatsoever. So just want to point that out, that there is not really a decrease there in how we're serving our students. And then again, just wanted to provide this information and highlight that change that is coming with changes in accounting standards. So as we look from one year to the next. There are not any questions regarding the current proposed budget and where we're going with the 2022-23 budget. I'll move on to the debt service.
Questions?
I just want to, the insurance is in Function 51, right?
Yes, sir.
51,
Yes.
okay.
Function 51, plant maintenance and operations. So there is that adjustment as well, as you can see here, going from 23 to 25. You can see those adjustments, as well as cost for utilities and other things as
You had previously forecasted a $400,000 increase, and it's going to be closer to $1 million, right?
That is correct. Yes. Yeah. So we, following our recent trends, 400,000 was kind of where we've been trending. And then obviously we saw some significant changes with replacement costs and other things that have really moved us in the market, as well as other entities in dealing with the same situation. So. And then I can take us back to our debt service budget real quick. Just a reminder that we were able to issue bonds last week after the board's action at the prior meeting. And it was a very successful sale. We issued the entire $198 million we had remaining in authorization. And that enabled us to lock in some savings because of, as we've seen the market move in anticipation, that actually we were able to sell at a total interest cost of 3.76%. Our original projection was about 4.23 or 4.25, somewhere right in there. So this will end up saving the district off of that original projection about $25 million in total payments across the life of those bonds. And so it was very successful. And again, there's no remaining authorization at this point, and we'll use these funds to continue and finish out the projects that we have in the schedule for the 2017 bond program.
The bond payment on that's already, it was passed in August, but it's already included in the budget that you're proposing tonight.
Yes, sir. We put an estimate in determining that the debt service budget for 2022, 2023. So thank you. And with that, we have no questions. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer any. If there are no questions, I'll be move us.
You want to move on then to the budget amendment for 2021, 2022?
So in your book, beginning on page 76, we provided the budget amendment in a similar format as we have in the past. First part of the amendment shows the actual changes that we are making by the actual group or the related transactions that are driving the change. And then the second part of the report, we show what the amended budget looks like in the format that we're used to looking at revenues and expenditures. But if you look at, again, page 76, in the general fund, we had some adjustments in the in tax collections as we moved some items, to our end of year projections based off where we are right now. We had some decreases, but we also had some increases based off of just delinquencies, taxes going up as people have moved from current into delinquent. And so we saw an increase in that this year, as well as moving some vehicle inventory tax. We scroll down, some of the larger adjustments, state aid was an additional $717,000. And then the shift between those two categories. And then just general increased activity in several areas with both the revenue and offsetting in expenditures with maintenance and contracted services between schools, which is going back to some Chapter 41 days that were some settle up payments for changes in prior years. Again, talking about ESSER, the additional pre-award cost, we added those additional amounts into the budget here, and that's that revenue of right about 3.7 to bring us to the 5.7 level or 5.8 level. Had the expense for chillers that was unplanned, and then we had some adjustments for our Medicare. And scrolling on down, the biggest adjustment is we always have to make an adjustment for our August payroll based on what happens with the next school year. that comes back and impacts the current school year. So that's an adjustment that we have to make each summer. So rolling over to,
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yes,
before you do
absolutely.
that? What's the 810,000 miscellaneous under tax? The big number under miscellaneous,
under miscellaneous up at the top
top
up
under
here.
tax?
So that is vehicle inventory tax. And so that number will vary from year to year. But it's a surplus amount that comes back to the district. And so that ends up, while it's taxes, the proper classification for that is down in miscellaneous. And so so that's where we've moved that number into miscellaneous, and it's $810,000.
Also, I have a question about ESSER. Will we get these grant proceeds next year also, or is this the end of it?
So we still have some funds remaining in ESSER that scheduled for the next year to utilize. We haven't exhausted all of our ESSER funds yet. In the next